your socks! Hey!
The Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast, now streaming on all major podcast platforms. A Till Valhalla Project ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a My Veteran Story. But before we get in the episode or you join the podcast, then go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check it out, see what we're all about. There is a merchandise tab. You can click on that. Go get you a cool hat, a shirt, anything like that. Help support us in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Also, a big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project and allowing me to be an ambassador for that amazing organization. If you don't know anything about them, please go to their website. That's tillvalhallaproject.com. Go check them out. And if there's any way you can help them, please do so.
Ton Tavern, birthplace of the Corps. We as Marines hold this history close to our hearts. Wouldn't it be spectacular if the establishment was born again? The Ton Legacy Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3, is taking the task and is looking to the Marines to once again save the day. Help the Lost Art podcast in raising funds to help get the Ton built once again only 100 yards from the original establishment in Philadelphia. We are looking for Marines to donate $25 representing the upcoming 250th birthday of the Corps. Spread the message and help establish the Ton, a place for Marine brethren to gather and remember our historic beginning. Go to the Lost Art GoFundMe page and donate today. The Ton Legacy Foundation, reestablishing our birthplace.
All right, with that, I got Wilson Bautista here, Marine veteran. How you doing, Wilson?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh, shoot, man. I'm excited. I get to hear your story. And, I know a little bit of it, but I don't know all of it. So this is going to be good.
Yeah, well, I look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's start at the beginning. So where did you grow up? And kind of talk to me a little bit about that. And then what drew you to military service?
Okay, so originally from South Florida, born in Fort Lauderdale, grew up in Coral Springs. I went, all my elementary, middle, high school down in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a semester or two in college, but it was like 20, 30 minutes from my house, and it felt like extended high school. And so I enlisted in the military, in the Marine Corps, but it wasn't just that simple. There was a process to get to that point, right? So it's just
Right.
like, okay, well, when did you first get like associated with the military? And I could probably say that the first time I ever saw anything military wise was when I went on the US John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I saw those jets. I was like maybe 7 or 8. I went with a buddy of mine, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then it was like just like a kind of a thought. And then I went to high school and I saw JROTC units. And I went to a Catholic school, Catholic high school.
Oh, wow.
We don't have you don't have that there. You don't have our JROTC stuff there. And so that was interesting. I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And I remember at one summer camp, I had talked to somebody about how he wanted to be in the military and how I said, oh yeah, I could never do that. Yeah, I would never do that. There's just, they tell you what to do. And I just didn't want that kind of control in my life, and I look back at that, I kind of chuckle and just like, oh, okay. So he talked to me about why he was joining the military, and we had that back and forth conversation. And then I got into college and I realized that I just was not just focused, not disciplined, not anything. Right. And I was just kind of just spinning my wheels kind of in the same neighborhood. Right. I'm going to a college that's real close to the house. Like nothing's different. There's really not much going on. So I decided I was going to leave college and try to find some kind of purpose, like a second job, because I already had one job.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to waste my parents' money on tuition, which
Hmm.
when I wasn't really focused on doing anything right with school.
Hmm.
Because when you're given that kind of freedom to not go to class at all, yeah, I took it. But
Yeah.
I also realized that that's probably not fair to my parents. So
Hmm.
I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do that to them. So I'm going to go and find another job. And where
Right.
I ended up going is I went to the mall, and I go to the mall, and there's a freaking recruiter, gunnery sergeant walking down, and he did a spiel, right? He did a
Yeah.
spiel. He talked to me about the Marines and what makes us different, and discipline and intangible, tangible benefits. Hook, line, and sinker. He had me, right? Because
Yeah.
like he was saying everything that I needed to hear. Like, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be something that is not easy, and it's going to give you
Hmm.
discipline. Because I also felt it's like, hey, you're running around like a jackass because you are a jackass, and you probably need to not be a jackass. So, so
It
you should
makes
probably
sense.
enjoy the Marine Corps, right?
Oh, shoot.
And yeah, I looked at the papers, and it was funny is that my parents were on vacation, and I said when I called them, or when they called me to ask how things were. This is like I think it was, I had a cell phone, or maybe I didn't have a cell phone, but they were on vacation. I said, oh yeah, I talked to a Marine recruiter today. I enlisted in the Marines. And they were like,
I'm
what?
sure that went over well.
Yeah, I went over real well. And yeah, so I enlisted in the Marines, and they found out that I played piano. So
Yeah.
I tried out for the Marine musician program,
Mhm.
and I got in there. And from there, I mean, went to boot camp in January 2001, so before 9/11 even happened. So I
Yeah.
was I was there.
So
Um,
what was the distance, time distance from when you talked to the recruiter to now I'm in boot camp?
Probably, I want to say 5 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 months. Because I was just like, all right, it's like something's got to change, something's got to
Yeah.
give. And
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
between the time that I talked to the recruiter and I went to boot camp, everybody and their mother was telling me, you don't need to go. You have
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need here. And I said, well, I want to know. I want to
Yeah.
know. I want to know. I don't, because up to that point, I kind of let people like guide me,
Hmm.
or like tell me what I should be doing or tell me what I shouldn't be doing. And I was just kind of tired of that. I just wanted
Yeah.
to be like, no, this is my thing. I'm gonna do it for me. Right. That was
Hmm.
like, I think probably the first time in my life that I like really took ownership of it,
Hmm.
and felt satisfied that made a decision and I'm gonna follow through.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, talk to me a little bit about you're going to boot camp, and what was that experience like walking in the door for that? Was it eye-opening? Was it terrifying? How was that for you?
Um, let's see. Well, boot camp was not fun. Right. Um, I would say that boot camp did teach me a lot about discipline, about working together. There were things that I just culturally I just didn't understand, like
Yeah.
why everybody's like kind of yelling at you and you have to move and you have to eat fast. And it's just like, okay, well, if I want to do this, I just got to suck it up and just do it. But
Yeah.
my demeanor is just like, all right, I'm just going to get through it. Right. But
Mhm.
over there, it's just like they want to see the motivation, right? They want to see
Right.
you
Yeah.
yelling and screaming. I'm just like, all right, I know what I want. I just want to get this over with, right? But
Right.
they put me in the motivation platoon or whatever, or the
Oh,
group
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
where they talk to you about the Marines and they say, oh, this is I'm like, I know. I'm like, don't I don't want to get motarded.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
me. So yeah, so it was interesting. I got into a fight. Someone was messing with another recruit, like just picking on him because he just wasn't responding. And this guy was a
Hmm.
huge guy, and I said, "Shut the f up." And he was like, "You wanna go?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go into head right now." And yeah, he cracked my head into a wall. That was a good time. So, but I mean, the thing is that I got a lot of respect from the platoon for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the entire experience went fast, right? It's just kind of like you have your things to do and you just get it done. But there are moments like you remember for the rest of your life, like
Hmm.
when you start going to the rifle range at night and you start seeing the tracer rounds, like I can't forget
Oh
about
yeah.
that. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean? I can't forget about that kind of stuff. So, I would say that boot camp was an experience. I wouldn't say that I was particularly enthused about anything about boot camp other than I needed to get through it, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. So you do your time there, boot camp, and of course you're going to go. Well, I guess you went to MCT first,
yep.
and then yeah. So how was MCT for you? Was it all right?
I mean,
Another thing you just have to get through.
yeah, mandatory fun, right? It's just like, all
Yeah.
right, I gotta go hump around Camp Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Camp Johnson, I've got to shoot guns. Okay, not a big deal. I got to throw a grenade. I get it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, hey, real quick, backtrack for me. For graduation at boot camp, did your family come up? I mean, they're fairly close, Florida. Did they
they
come up
did.
for it? Okay.
They did. They did. It was very
Yeah, and
nice.
what for them, what was it like, whenever they came up and saw you for the first time and everything after boot camp?
Well, they looked at me and they're like, "You have not eaten anything." It's like, what have they not fed you? Why haven't they
Yeah,
fed
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Not because you look rails thin, but they were really proud, right?
Yeah.
They were really proud of the fact that I went through something so hard and
Hmm.
I got through it and
Yeah.
uh, kind of changed the way that I think about things, right?
Yeah.
So they definitely saw uh, a more disciplined jackass, I guess.
I like the way you put that. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, so you finish MCT up and you go to the School of Music. Tell me about everyone I talk to that goes to School of Music has either really great experience or really crappy experience. So there's no like kind of in between. It's just like I really loved it or I really hated it. What was your experience like?
I enjoyed it, right? But I was
Hmm.
also the guide, right?
Oh yeah.
And when you're the guide, you have like kind of control over things. And I had a
Hmm.
good time. I had a good time with that. Um, and I was a musician that like worked hard, not just put in the mandatory hours. I did more, right?
Hmm.
Because I wanted to learn and I didn't want to be terrible at my job. So I would
Yeah.
say that I did have a good time at the School of Music and made a lot of great memories there. Did a lot of great things with friends over there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Very nice. Okay, go in the other room, baby. Sorry. They just came in here to interrupt me. Uh, well, they're not in here. There's nobody in here. It's just me and the dogs and the cat. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. Okay, Taylor says hi. Sorry, I can edit
No
that out.
worries.
So, so a good experience overall at the schoolhouse, and putting in lots of extra practice hours. And from what I know from you, that was pretty consistent from when I met you too.
Yeah.
So you definitely put in the hours and work hard and all that type of stuff. So it sounds right to me.
Yeah. 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 I mean, after School of Music, went to Okinawa, Japan, and that's where we
Yeah.
met.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well, tell me
So,
about your experience now, because you'd never like gone overseas or anything like that before going to Oki.
well, I mean, stationed or lived as an adult,
Right.
never, right? But I
Yeah, yeah,
mean, I've been to countries before,
yeah. Hmm.
but not like in a length of time that was required when we were there. So I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say that when I went to Okinawa, it was a little rough because I had a son at that point,
Hmm.
and he was maybe 4 years old. So I would be away from him
Yeah.
for a year. I had a girlfriend back at home too, so I was kind of worried about that. And she was
Yeah.
still in high school as well. So there's all that kind of emotion stuff. And I
Hmm.
know that like for the first month or so, I was a little homesick and I remember being a little depressed about it, but I kind of
Yeah.
eventually got over it. Um, that was a good time at 3MEF. Got to see Australia, Got to play in different kind of groups all over the island. I had a good time. I would say that Okinawa is probably my most favorite duty station. Not
Oh
because I was
wow.
single and I was just kind of like, running around and do whatever the hell I wanted to do,
Yeah.
but it was memorable in the fact that, we had fun in the barracks,
Hmm.
um, just like stuff that probably I'll never experience again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
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 Yeah, like
What?
I always tell everybody like because you and I bought a car,
That's
right?
right. Yeah,
We
we
bought
did.
a car, but you're like 6 foot something and I'm 5'7". And that chair in that car was not like it didn't slide. And so we had to tie it down with boot
Yeah,
strings.
bootlaces. Yeah, we
Yeah,
tied it down. That's right.
yeah. But
And every
yeah, it
now and
was
again, it would pop loose, and then you'd either fall in the back seat or you'd fall forward in the seat.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that yeah, it's just like, hey, you know what? It's an island beater.
Yeah.
we paid
And that it
we,
was.
we paid $600 for that car, but it got us around.
Yeah, he did fine. Yeah. Yeah. It got us everywhere we wanted to go on the island. So it was good.
Yeah. No, I had a blast in Okinawa. And then from there, I got married when I went back to the States, and
Hmm.
then we got stationed in Parris Island, South Carolina, which is kind of weird going
Yeah.
back again.
Oh yeah. So what
The
is that experience for you? Because going back is, especially because you were corporal when you went back, right?
yeah, I was a corporal. I was a
Yeah.
corporal.
So going back to Paris Island, like kind of what's going through your mind, because you're the only experience you had at this point was boot camp. So
Yeah,
what were you expecting, and then what was it like?
I mean, like you're kind of like walking back to your trauma, right? You're just like I'm going right back in. Um, it's interesting. So I was a little nervous getting in, and I remember like when we got on base and we went to PMO to do something, one of the PMO sergeants or gunnery sergeants was giving us a hard time about a sticker on our license plate. And it was just like, oh my God, is going to be like this all the time? But it
Yeah.
wasn't. Um, I mean, you're definitely treated differently, right? Because you're a
Hmm.
Marine amongst all of these recruits. But there was
Right.
also there was a level of expectation that you are a Marine and you're professional and you're supposed to act as such, right? So
Right. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
all the bases that I've ever been to, it was just like you are an example. So you can't be nasty and out of shape, and
Mm.
right,
Yeah.
your uniform has to be impeccable, right?
Hmm.
Because all of these recruits, when they see you, this is this is like what they see as an example, right?
Yeah.
So if you're god awful nasty and you're like talking back or you're doing anything, you're not setting a good example for them, and
Hmm.
making the Marine Corps look bad, and making all the drill instructors and all the instructors that have been kind of like putting in their heads like there's high expectations, so you have to live it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. And what types of things were you doing in the band while you were there?
Oh, well, I would say that as a pianist, there's not many things you could do. Um, and so I did what a lot of auxiliary percussionists do, or rhythm players do, is play bass drum or cymbals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was fortunate at Okinawa that I didn't have to do that so often. But when I got to
Hmm.
Paris Island, they expected me to march, and I just wasn't prepared for that. So like when we
Yeah.
started doing like the slow march or any of the concert formations, I just didn't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how it worked. And yeah, it was a fun experience doing that. So I mean, yeah, I play piano in the rock band, jazz bands. We went over to the general's house, do solo gigs. But a lot of the time I was beating the hell out of a bass drum and playing cymbals at
Yeah.
ceremonies, right? So I would say that I played definitely more bass drum and cymbals than I did piano at Paris
Oh
Island.
wow.
Yeah.
No kidding. Dang.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow. And that happened a lot actually, to percussion minors. So, that was the normal thing. Yeah. I think it's gotten better over the years.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I was pissed
but
because yeah, I would say that I was pissed because you come in and you want to play your instrument, and then
Yeah.
when you see the band go on these trips, and then they say, yeah, you're going to be playing the cymbals, you're playing the bass drum, you're just like, this is dumb. And then or they go to a trip and then you're stuck on the duty desk.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that this is like towards like my third or fourth year in, and
Hmm.
like this is the point where I'm just like, I'm gonna get out. Right.
Yeah.
There's like, this is dumb. Like I did not join to play the bass drum, the heavy left every week. Every week.
Over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the thing that changed my mind is that they gave me an opportunity to go to the unit leaders course
Oh wow. Yeah.
at 4 years, 4 or 5
Hmm.
years, and people just don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah. Very true.
and I was just like, fine, I'll go,
Yeah.
and that ended up being a catalyst for other things. So
Hmm.
I went back to the School of Music after Paris Island, and I learned a lot of different things about small
Hmm.
ensembles, marching and doing the drum major stuff, arranging music.
Yeah.
And after my second go at the School of Music, I went to Hawaii,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I took everything that I learned and I applied it to what I wanted to do, which was be a small ensemble leader, which I know doesn't exist anymore, but you're the
Right.
person that's leading the small ensembles. And yeah, I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna go at it hard. Right.
Yeah.
So there was actually one day, I want to say 1 or 2 days, where it was just my name on the plan of the day,
Oh
like
wow.
leading field drill, leading
Yeah.
concert band, leading jazz band, leading rock band. And
Yeah.
I should have kept that plan of the day,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
that made me realize it's like, you're leading,
Hmm.
right? You're
Yeah.
leading, you're doing things. So um it was good. A lot of stress. But I went to Hawaii, and that was also a lot of fun. Had great Marines that I worked with over there, and learned a lot about myself. Some good things, some not so good things, and you
Yeah.
know,
So, but you guys in Hawaii got to go to a lot of cool places at that time,
we
didn't
did,
you?
we
Yeah.
did, we did. So I mean, I went to Guam. Where else did we go?
You go to
Oh,
Tonga while you were there.
I didn't get to go to Tonga. Other people got to go to
Okay.
Tonga. Some people went on like a 3 month cruise.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they went around island hopping and doing stuff like that, which was good. But yeah, I had a blast. And I think that was probably the peak of my military musician career was in Hawaii. I know I was
Okay.
practicing hard. I was leading from a solo pianist perspective. Like I learned Rhapsody in Blue and I
Oh
performed it.
wow. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of
Very
like a
cool.
big deal for every pianist.
Hmm.
So I would say that Hawaii was a great duty station. I had a lot of fun, but then they said, "Hey, yeah, you're doing so good. We want you to be a musician technical assistant or a music
Hmm.
recruiter." Right.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? Because what I believe everybody wanted, or what I thought at the time, is everybody wanted me to be a band officer, right? So this is like the
Yeah.
logical succession, right? You go
Hmm.
from the field, you go to MTA duty, and then you put in your warrant officer package.
Right.
So I went on MTA duty. I was responsible for all of the Northeast, which is First Marine Corps District.
Hmm.
I would say that was pretty hard. It was very stressful because you're traveling a lot. I've spent a lot of time away from my family. Um, and the quotas that you have to meet are difficult, especially when you during that time, not many people wanted to join. We were already in the thick of in
That's right. Yeah.
Afghanistan and Iraq. So
Hmm.
I had to deal with a lot of like people calling me baby killer, you know.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
strange. Yeah, one of the best stories that I have is um I went to a school and I want to say it was either in New Hampshire or Massachusetts. It was somewhere
Okay.
up there. And they scheduled for me to do a band talk for the band,
Uh-huh.
right? And I went in there, but when we got in, there was a note on the door that said class is canceled before the kids got into the class, right? So
Whoa.
we would have driven over there, and this sign says class is canceled, blah 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 blah. So they took down the sign, the recruiter and the OIC at the time, and so the kids started filtering in
Yeah.
the class, and so I gave my spiel. I talked. There was mind you, there was like a woman that was writing notes next to me,
Yeah.
like the sub or whoever, but she was writing notes. So I was talking, and there were just people being rude, like, "Oh, you suck." It's like you don't know anything, blah blah blah.
Oh,
Just like
wow.
yeah, just
Kind
terrible.
of hostile. Yeah.
Yeah, very hostile. And I was just like, okay. And so it was around Christmas time, and I finished my speech. I said, "Any questions?" No. I'm like, "Okay, well, hey, you got some music? I know this chart. Like, let's play. You guys got your instruments out. Let's play." Right. And
Yeah.
so it was I know the theme is green sleeves, right? But I forgot the name of the piece. But
Oh, yeah.
we did it all the time in the band because I
Yeah.
was just like,
Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
know this one. I could do it. And so we're playing, we're playing. We get to the end, and I stopped and I said, you all should be ashamed of yourselves. You're it's like your parents have paid for you to take lessons and all the years of hours of practice that you've put in, and this is what you perform. It's like
Wow.
you all should just quit. And my OIC he's just like, oh my God, what is he doing? I'm so done. I'm fired. So I said, but I continued. I said, all right, so this piece right here, all right, does anybody know where the melody is? And I explained, I'm like, all right, so the girl that was giving me a hard time was playing the flute. And I said, the melody is with the flute right now, and then it passes to the trombones, and then it passes to this section, and it passes to that section. So if you can't hear this section going out, you need to bring it down, right?
Yeah.
And you need to play that beautiful flute up, right? So I'm like really
Yeah. Yeah.
cheesing it up, and so we do it again,
Uh-huh.
and they were like, "Holy crap!" Right? And
Yeah.
realized like 100% difference. And it was hilarious because I ended it. Everybody thanked me for my time. I explained. Of course, I'm shortening this for the talk right now. But what ended up happening is they were asking when I was going to come back
Oh, wow.
to do another clinic. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that I ran into
Yeah.
in the Northeast, and it was hard. It was stressful. But the the main thing is that I was able to meet mission, but
Hmm.
I got it cut short. It was supposed to be a 3-year tour. I did it for a year and a half, and the only reason why I did it for a year and a half is that while I was in Hawaii, I finished my degree in music,
Hmm. Yeah.
and at that time I was like, okay, well, it's either I try to be an officer or I could be a band officer, right?
Yeah.
And I realized it's like, I love music, but I'm not as happy as I want to be. Like I need to
Right.
challenge myself to the next level, right? Because
Okay.
I can't see myself as like a conductor for a band. That's just not my thing,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah. Makes sense.
I could lead. I wanted to be a
Hmm.
leader. And so I I said, okay, well, I'm gonna try to be a second lieutenant. I'm gonna try to commission.
Yeah.
And so in January 2010, I went to officer candidate school. And
Okay.
that was a punch in the face, a gut, or okay, right? Because it was just like, dear God, here I go again. I'm just hazing myself.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that boot camp is more of a mental game, in my opinion. But when you go like OCS, you're going the officer route. That is physically, I mean, incredibly physically demanding.
Yes. Yes. I God, how do I explain this? So I would say like when I went to OCS, I was definitely not in like prime physical shape to go to OCS because I was just like, yeah, I just run a PFT, blah blah blah. But it's just like, no,
Yeah.
you are running. I um I remember that by the time that we ended the like the last PFT, I was
Hmm.
second to last. Second to last. My time was 20:36.
Oh my God.
I was second to last.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
how
insane.
that's how fast and strong these candidates now, like lieutenants or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
were. So yeah, definitely physically demanding. What also was interesting is that we started out with so many candidates, and
Hmm.
they gave the option. It's like, whenever you want to turn in your card or you just don't want to do this anymore, just let us know. And it
Wow.
it was really interesting to see. Like I knew this guy that was a bunk. He was like in the next bunk as me. He's like, yeah, I used to write speeches for President Obama, blah, blah, blah. Did not survive when we picked
Yeah.
up. He did not survive the
Oh,
first
wow.
night. Yeah. I was just like, man, it's like this is a guy that has dedicated a lot of time for mental discipline
Yeah.
to like study law, and he's doing some incredible things, but he could not, I guess, handle that kind of pressure,
Yeah.
which was interesting to see. So, but the cool thing too is that I did see people that have gone through OCS multiple times, and like due to like certain things that happened one time, like somebody's foot got broken, like they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not going to keep you. You have to go through again. I knew a guy that was there like for his third time, right?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Yeah, he went through his third time, and we were like maybe 2 to 3 weeks out, but he hurt his shin or he hurt his foot again, and
Yeah.
he had to quit, right? He
Oh
was a
my
he
God.
was a medical drop. But what's good is that he went a fourth time, and he got through. He
Oh,
finally.
good for him. Holy
So it's just
cow.
like, yeah, you run into these folks. It's just like you're putting yourself through some real hell. And it's like you must
Yeah.
really, really, really want this. And
Wow.
yeah, for me, I was just like this is awesome. It's an opportunity for me to challenge myself. And what also was memorable of everything was that as an enlisted person, I was the most senior enlisted person in my platoon. So
Oh,
what?
no kidding.
Oh yeah, you want to know what that meant? Meant
Yeah.
we're
You
gonna
had to do
try.
everything.
Well, that, and then it's just like we're gonna see if we could get this guy to quit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, there would be a board in the hut, right, where all the sergeant instructors would be, and they would have
Yeah.
their list of names, and my name was always there, and it's like, oh my God, what is happening? What is going to happen to me today? What is going to happen to me today? So yeah, that
Uh,
was that was fun and excitement for a few weeks, and then,
Yeah.
but I got through it, right? I commissioned,
Hmm.
and the next big step from there was the basic school,
Hmm.
which was 6 months of running around in the woods, which was awesome to see because you get to see like people that came from the academies. Uh,
Hmm.
you're in these co-ed platoons, and like mad respect to a lot of the female officers. It's like they were
Oh,
carrying
yeah.
some weight, and they were doing it, and they weren't bitching, they were going, right? So
Yeah.
like they were struggling, they were miserable with us. And so it did give us an opportunity to feel what the infantry guys feel,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way to break in a second lieutenant to the Marine Corps, to be able to show
Yeah.
them. I'm like, hey, this is what it's like to live in the field. You're not taking a bath for 5 days, and
Yeah.
you're pooping in holes for 5 days. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's just,
Absolutely.
and yeah, but it was an incredible experience. The instructors that were there, they were like top of the line officers in their first years. My platoon commander, it was a Silver Star recipient,
Oh, wow.
right? So it's just like, well, what did you do to do that? And you read the
Yeah.
story, and you're just like, can I do that? Right?
Yeah.
Would I have done that? So these are like the examples of officers, the leaders
Mhm.
that they want you to aspire to, right? Rightly
Right.
so,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my time at TVS, even though I thought it sucked the entire time. Like I look back at it and I'm just like, man, walking 15 miles in the dark with 150 pounds on my back, that really sucked at the time. But you want to know what? I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that rite of passage,
Yeah.
you made it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I did it. I guess whatever garbage that I'm going through right now doesn't suck as much as that. You know what I mean?
That's a good
Because
point. Yeah.
I refer to I'm like, this is terrible, but I'm like, it's not as terrible as that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A funny story about that particular hike is like, like you're hiking and you're like, yeah, just don't think about it. Just try to get your mind off of it. So
Hmm.
by the time we did this hike, it was like we were 7 days out in the field, had little to no sleep. It was like maybe 2 to 3 hours a night of sleep because
Hmm.
we're getting up and we're moving. And like it's 2,300, and the last like live exercise that we do, last movement that we do, they say, okay, we got good news, we got bad news. The good news is that you're going home. The bad news is that we're doing it like in 30 minutes, right?
Oh.
And you have to get back by 0630.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'd never seen like so many people going nuts in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. I was trying to like get my mind off of things. And so like one of my techniques to just get my mind off of things is start, thinking or like humming or thinking in
Hmm.
jazz. Well, I freaking hummed myself asleep. I
While
hummed
you were walking.
while I was walking with 150 pounds on my back. I hummed
Yeah.
myself asleep and I fell.
Oh man.
Oh my God, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I'm like laying on the ground and I'm like, I don't know what happened. Someone's picking me up and then we're off again. I was like, holy crap, I didn't know I could do that. Now you know, if you're tired
Yeah.
enough and you try to like zone out, it's like you could completely zone out.
That's a true
Yeah.
statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
It's
been there. Yeah.
oh, so TBS was good. And then at TBS they tell you, hey, what job you could be good for.
Hmm.
Um, my platoon commander was trying to get me to go to artillery, but I really wanted to do something more technical,
Yeah.
and something that I could take out of the service and do something
Right.
with,
Yeah.
right? Because in artillery, nothing wrong with being an artillery officer, but I don't think there's many places where they need me to put rounds down, you know?
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Yeah.
So they said, hey, yeah, we want you to be an IT or a commo, a communications
Hmm.
officer. And so that there began my career in IT and signals, learning
Hmm.
about single channel radio, multi-channel radio, SATCOM, IP networks, all
Right.
that kind of stuff. And I definitely struggled with that, because it
Hmm.
was something completely different. So that was a 6 month course in Quantico as well,
Oh
which
wow. It
was
was in
a
Quantico.
yeah, but now it's in 29 Palms. But
Oh,
back then
okay.
it was in Quantico. So
Wow.
yeah, I had a good time there. I learned a lot. I also learned that I can't learn the way that the Marines teach or the military teaches. That's when I really learned that like the shotgun style of learning is not for me, because
Yeah.
I damn near graduated the bottom of my class.
Oh
Pretty
wow.
close, pretty close to the bottom of my class,
Okay.
which was really demoralizing for me,
Yeah.
because like as a high performer, you're just like, I know I'm not stupid, but why did I rank so low, or why can't I get
Yeah, yeah,
this?
yeah.
Right. So yeah, it was pretty rough for me. And then with that placement, I wasn't able to be like like a company S6, a company or a battalion
Oh, right.
S6, right? So they put me in a pool of lieutenants at a holding company. So
Okay.
if they needed somebody to go somewhere, um, or be assigned to a unit, that they would be able to pull from these lieutenants,
Oh,
right?
I see. Yeah.
So after comm school, I went to Second Marine Division, where I saw you again,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I went to Second Marine Division Comm Company, where I was platoon commander for a couple of platoons. And then when the opportunity came to go to Afghanistan, which was like one of
Mhm.
the main reasons why I wanted to go into the officer corps, is because I wanted
Right.
to deploy.
Hmm.
Because we had already been in war for so long, and I'm like, I want to do my part, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when the opportunity came to deploy, I took it, and I was assigned over to 6th Marines Regiment
Hmm.
headquarters as
Yeah.
supporting the S6, the regimental
Okay.
S6, or regimental
Hmm.
comm officer, which was a major. So we deployed to Afghanistan for a year, and that was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we have time for all these stories that I've got,
We
but
we have all the time you want to spend. It's there's no time limit. So whatever you want to share, you're more than welcome to share.
yeah, I would say that like Afghanistan, getting like all the prep work to Afghanistan, that was a journey in itself. But I would say like when we got to Kyrgyzstan, Manas,
Hmm.
Kyrgyzstan, was when it started to feel real. Um,
Yeah.
because now we're in another country. And at that time, like this is before Christmas, I was in the forward element. So it was like, I want to say it was like negative 20 degrees, and there's snow on the
Oof.
ground, and you're walking around and you're sleeping in these huts that are like 70 degrees, and you're walking out, it's negative something degrees.
Oh my
So
God. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I tell people like also what was really strange is that like you'd see the women that would work in on the base that were locals,
Hmm.
they would look Chinese, but they spoke Russian.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and I was just like, I am not sure how I should feel about this.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. But I mean, when you look at the history of the area, it's all like the
Yeah.
grasslands, the Mongols, Genghis Khan,
Hmm.
all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So we went from Manas to Camp Leatherneck, and then
Hmm.
I got stationed in Nole for my first like 6 months. And Nole was basically a logistical hub for the Sangin district, which Sangin
Okay.
was where they had a lot of the fighting that
Right.
was
Yeah.
going on down there. So our building was specifically important because we had a SATCOM system that was supporting all of the battalions in the area.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really important for that to be kept up. And I had a team of Marines with me, really good guys, and they got stuff done, right?
Yeah.
So we got to do a few things, go on a few convoys to go see,
Mhm.
Singin, and correct any kind of issues that they were having out at these forward operating bases. So I
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
stuck on a fob, right? I was
Yeah.
I was actively out and about doing things.
Right. Right.
And then after some time, after the first 6 months, we went back to Delaram, and Delaram was the headquarters for the regiment.
Hmm.
And from there, we were kind of like doing the same thing. I'm trying to think of some of the crazy stuff that happened over there. Um, but nothing too crazy to mention. I mean, we did patrols. We did what we had to
Hmm.
do for these patrol bases out there, and make
Right.
sure that they still had connectivity. And then they said, okay, well, we're going to start consolidating things. And so we went to Camp Leatherneck,
Okay.
right? And
Hmm.
so when we went to Camp Leatherneck, and I'm just trying to push a little bit, we ended up taking over another area of operation, Task
Oh,
Force
wow.
Bellawood area. So not
Okay.
only we had like the Sangin area, we had this other area that Task Force Bellawood
Hmm.
had. And so me being the sixth assistant, I would say, for the major, the major the major didn't want to go on a convoy for 10 days with the all the other majors, so he sent us as lieutenant. So we'll I'll just leave it at that. But I'm actually happy that that happened.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I pretty much I think I've seen most of the Marine bases that were in Afghanistan.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I've been to all of the FOBs at least once. And yeah, I think that's pretty incredible because I got to see all of the terrain, the
Hmm.
differences like of vegetation, lack of
Hmm.
vegetation, the
Oh, yeah.
mountains. Um, and I went to a place that was called Fob Castle, which was actually a castle of Alexander the Great
Whoa, no kidding.
that they repurposed. Yeah, it was
Wow.
it was pretty neat and pretty neat. So like, yeah, you see what the Marines are doing out there, and some of the incredible things that we were doing with some of the local populace, and
Hmm.
trying to win the hearts and minds, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
hate saying that, but we were doing our best in what we had, but able to being able to go and see these areas was great because I have a true appreciation for some of the austere environments that some of the young Marines had to
Oh,
endure.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, like between like moon dust being dry and moon dust being wet, it's just nasty, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was good. But another notable time when I was there is uh when I met Prince Harry. He was there when I was
Oh,
there.
no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we'd like to do every now and again is go to the British side of the base and get curry
Hmm.
because
Oh,
get
yeah. Yeah.
curry at their chow hall because that's the only only place you could get it. So, I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
go every once in a while. And one of these times I I happened to see Harry
Yeah.
there, waved high. He waved high. That was it, which was
Wow.
which was nice. But what was also interesting, I was there when the base got attacked,
Oh,
right?
no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you remember, but
Was this the air base
yeah,
when the air base got attacked? Yeah.
yeah. So when the air base got attacked, yeah, I was there. So I was talking to my wife on my phone what because we had internet connection, and I was just like, oh man, I gotta use the head. So
Yeah.
I I put the phone down and say, hey, I'll talk to you later, right?
Right.
And I open up the door and I just see all these people like running around, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? They're like, oh, we're getting attacked. We're getting attacked. I'm like, okay. So I walk down to the head, right? And I'm
Yeah.
looking off to the right, and I see this fuel farm up in flames. And I'm just like, "Ah,
Oh,
Jesus,
wow.
Jesus, here we go." And so
Yeah.
I go use the head and I walk back and I tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, sorry, I gotta go. And then we were in River City.
Yeah.
Um, and and what was really interesting about all of that is that like I had been in the like going on convoys, going on helicopters. I'd been
Hmm.
living in condition one,
Yeah.
right? For the entire time until like Camp Leatherneck, and
Right.
then going to like a base that's I would say more stable and where I want to say people don't experience that level of operational tempo or stress.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see how people were reacting because
Yeah, that makes sense.
like
Yeah.
when we were in Camp Leatherneck, people were like, "Oh, you got to lock your rifles," right? I love your
Oh,
rifles. So when people came from Leatherneck to Nole, they would start locking up. I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, go into condition one, go into condition one. And they're like, why? I'm like, because we're like right
yeah.
on the front line, and we have this satcom system that they want to blow up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, that was an interesting time, because they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we start hearing these sirens, like sirens we've never heard before. And it was like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a rocket attack siren. It's like, yeah, we've never heard that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, so I would say that my time in Afghanistan was memorable. I wouldn't say that it
Hmm.
was fun. I did not have a very good working relationship with my major.
Yeah.
And that reflected in my evaluations, which
Hmm.
ultimately led me to get out of the service, right?
Yeah.
Because they were also looking to cut like 90% of my class anyways,
Oh
right?
wow. Holy cow.
So it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you don't meet the mark. And I remember at that time, like when I went back to Camp Lejeune and I went back to Com Company, I was just so upset and disillusioned
Hmm.
that I was being treated the way that I was being treated. I would say that I wouldn't put everything squarely on the command or the people, because I'm probably I know that I exacerbated things too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like at the point where it's just like, I'm a crap lieutenant. Like I don't deserve to lead
Yeah.
anyways. And I'm just tired. I'm tired of all of this. And
Yeah.
so I decided when they said, "Oh yeah, you didn't make it." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm out." And they even gave
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
another opportunity. They said, they have this thing called the meritorious board for
Hmm.
people that didn't get selected. And I said to myself, I'm like, so this is for all the people that were selected to stay in, but they said no. So now there's a gap, and you need to fill it with the lowest people on the totem pole, so that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have a. I'm just like, yeah, no, I know what that means. I'm not gonna do that. And
Right.
so, yeah, I got out, and um, I didn't know at the time I had like PTSD, depression,
Hmm.
anxiety, uh,
Yeah.
and all of this stuff going on. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was hard, um because my wife and my kids didn't know what was going on
Hmm.
either, until like I remember my wife asking me, she's like, "Where are you?" Like she
Yeah.
said, "Where are you?" Like, I don't know where you are, because I would, just not be present,
Yeah.
right? Because at
Yeah.
that time I felt like I was in a bubble, and people's lives were all moving around me,
Yeah.
and my life was just kind of stationary.
Hmm.
Um, so so when I got out of the service, that was kind of how I felt. And it's taken like years and years of like medication therapy and stuff to get past that. But
Right.
but yeah, as I got out, I went to the reserves for the Marines for a little bit. And
Hmm.
so I was just doing some information management officer stuff for one of the units on base. But when I did get out, before I got out, I decided, like, okay, well, if I'm really going to get out, I really want to get into a field that I find interesting. And that's where I found
Hmm.
myself in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, I really think it's cool that we could connect things, but I think it's really cool to break things. And so I
Hmm.
said, yeah, I want to get into cybersecurity. So as I'm going through the reserves, I'm drilling whenever I needed to drill. I landed a job on base doing cybersecurity work for headquarters Marine Corps,
Oh wow.
supporting their readiness for the Southeast bases, to get
Hmm.
ready for the Defense Information System Agency's uh, command cyber readiness inspections.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was I was preparing with a few team members from around the nation to get them ready for a DISA audit. Right. So I
Hmm.
did that for a little bit, and then I said, okay, well, I need to do something else, because like working in the government, I'm dealing with the same people and the same mindset. I want to challenge myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So I landed a role at a multinational power and manufacturing and automation company that was
Oh, okay.
based out of Switzerland. So I started out as a cybersecurity compliance analyst for security configuration management, and then I just started like going up the ladder where I was a
Yeah,
portfolio manager of services. So I was
yeah.
responsible for security configuration management, vulnerability management, threat management, web application security. These are
Wow.
really big things for like a 90,000 person company, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
running the show there, and that was great. And then I said, you know what? I think that I would like to, do my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
in regards to like building out a program for myself. So it aligned with the fact that my wife wanted to move back to Florida,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so I found a role in St. Petersburg, Florida, with a defense manufacturing company, and I became the director of IT and information security, and I had to build programs from the bottom up to be compliant with the Department of Defense requirements.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I built a organization's IT and information security architecture and infrastructure. I built it from the ground up, and
Holy cow.
had to get assessed, and that was all fine and good, but honestly, I just at that point I realized it's like I just cannot work for anybody.
I
Because
get that. I get that.
yeah, you run into people, it's just like, this is what you should do. It's just like, well, no, I think we should do it this way. I'm like, but that way is completely wrong. It's like, we're gonna do it anyways because I outrank you. It's just like, all right.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't have time for this. So um yeah, I started my own company, right?
yeah.
And before I get there, so before I started my company, I went to the Army National Guard. I didn't know if you knew
Hmm.
this. So
No, uh-uh.
yeah, yeah. So the Army National Guard needed somebody that was a cybersecurity person that understood operations. So I was like an operations guy for the cybersecurity team for North
No
Carolina.
kidding.
And
Huh.
so yeah, and during that time I was there, I uh I I was told that my disability rating from the VA was too high,
No
and
kidding.
they said, "Yeah, we're going to medically retire you."
Wow. Okay.
So at 13 years, I would have had to wait, like I would have missed my active duty retirement. But and then if you do the reserves, you have to wait till whatever age, 65, whatever, to get your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
retirement, right? And do the whole points
Hmm.
thing. But at 17 years or 16 years at that time, they said your VA disability rating's too high. We're going to opt for you to get medically retired, which
Wow.
is a huge blessing, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got medically retired out of the Army National
Okay.
Guard after 17 years.
No, I had no clue about that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It worked out. It worked out. What I thought was like my life was ending because
Hmm.
all I've ever thought about was being a Marine and an officer, and now I had to get
Yeah, yeah.
out. Now, now I'm okay. I'm okay,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so after that, yeah, I do a lot of things to support vets in different ways. But back to the
Yeah.
story about me starting my business. I can't work for people
Yeah.
like like that. So I have no intention of being controlled by somebody else's destiny. I want to control my own destiny. So I started my own company, and we've been doing
And
it for.
what specifically is the company? Like, tell us what that is.
So the company is called June Cyber. June in Tagalog means junior, which I am a junior, and it's also a
Hmm.
nickname that my family gave me. And we first started out doing just consulting for these specific Department of Defense requirements. And then it
Hmm.
turned into, it's like, well, that's great that you know how to find stuff and you could write a report. Well, can you fix it? It's like, yeah, I could fix it. It's like, okay, well, now that you fixed it, can you maintain it? I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can maintain it. That's fine. It's like, okay, well, how about regular IT stuff? Can you do that too? It's like, I'm like, yeah, of course. And so, yeah, now we're this compliance and cybersecurity focused IT managed service company that
Very
we're
nice.
we're really forward thinking. We use a lot of artificial intelligence. We use a lot of automations. We're trying to keep our headcount low.
Hmm.
And I got a lot of smart people on my team, right?
Yeah.
And they care about what we do, and it's a lot of fun to work with folks that are just as passionate as me with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's based out of Florida, and we're all like I mean, you travel all over the place doing all kinds of different seminars and all kinds of different things. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff that you've done. So kind of talk kind of what you're doing when you're traveling around and you're doing all this different stuff.
Yeah, so traveling could have different purposes. So like conferences,
Hmm.
I'll give presentations at conferences. Last one I did at University of North Carolina in
Hmm.
Wilmington. So I'll do presentations, but a lot of the times I'm going to client sites and doing assessments, site assessments on their compliance
Yeah,
posture and showing them what
gotcha.
they need to do. I'm getting with key stakeholders that
Hmm.
need to make decisions on things like
Right,
millions of dollars of investment into what they need to do. I'm trying
right.
to I'm trying to get them to push the button, right?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah,
they need somebody that understands this and that is going to make them feel more comfortable pressing that button rather than, somebody that may know a little bit. So they want an expert
right.
to
Yeah,
come in
yeah,
and say, "Hey, yeah, you need this for compliance." And it's not just somebody from your team. You have this third party that's telling you like this idea that your team has that they've given you is solid. You should do it.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
where I
yeah.
come into.
Kind of like
Yeah.
peace of mind a little bit for the individuals making that decision.
Yeah, a lot of what I like to say I do for companies is that I try to translate the tech into business speak.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because a lot of guys in the technology space, they don't understand or they don't know how to speak in business terms.
Right.
So when I go in and I say, all right, this is the reason why you need to do this, and this is the reason why you need to invest in this, because these are the implications if you don't, right?
Hmm.
But of course, you know that we need to do this. Here are your options. This would
Right.
be, and I recommend this.
Right. Right.
And they're like,
Very nice.
okay, that's great. And it's like, yeah, that's what I do. And what's nice about being kind of third party is that you're not saddled down by politics,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's what I kind of love. I just like, you need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, you
then they're
get to
like,
come in with a fresh set of eyes, looking at something they're looking at, on a daily basis. You get to come in and kind of look it over and say, okay, hey, this is the right decision, or no, you need to go in a different direction.
yeah,
So that new
yeah,
fresh set of eyes is always good.
yeah. And they appreciate because I'm also not salesy,
Yeah.
right? It's just because it's funny is they're like, you just kind of just say it. I'm like, well, because I was in the Marines.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just say it. It's like, what do you want to do? I'm
Hmm.
not gonna I'm gonna distill the message to the most minimum words so that you can make a decision.
Yeah.
Why? It's because we need to move forward. I don't want to I'll schedule a 30-minute meeting, but I will only have a 10-minute meeting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's 20 minutes for you to do other things. So that's the way I kind of look at things, and that's what people appreciate.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for sure. Wow. That's really cool. Man, I learned all kinds of great stuff about you. Man, had no clue on some of this stuff. This is wild.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been a wild ride since I got out, right? I mean,
Hmm.
like I'm talking about like the whole mental health thing. That was a
Mm,
rough ride, right? I learned a lot about myself and how to cope with different things. And then like the professional journey, like going from stability to instability was a life
yeah.
altering moment. And then realizing that each organization has their own culture, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
like if I'm going to spend 8 hours of my day somewhere, I want to be happy. You know what I
It's a good
mean?
point. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
like, I don't want to be miserable. So I made it a point to myself is like, I need to find a place where I fit. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
I talk to a lot of vets and it's like, listen, I know y'all are trying to get a job as soon as you get out, but you have now the time to get a job that you like in a in
Yeah,
a in an organization that you like, right? Don't just get a job to get a job, get a job to where you're going to be satisfied
yeah.
holistically, right?
Hmm.
So that was a
And well,
journey.
you say you do it. You mentioned a while ago you do a lot of different things for vets. So what are some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so part of my way of giving back to the veteran community is through my nonprofit that I started called the Cyber Ohana Project, right?
Okay.
Because when I got out of the service, I didn't have any kind of um, mentorship in the industry. I didn't have anybody
Hmm.
to turn to. It was just like, all right, read some books, talk, hopefully talk to people, things like that.
Yeah.
And what I found is that there's a need to have a community of people to
Hmm.
lean in on when you have questions. So I wanted to create that community and be able to provide a way for entry level or transitioning service members that are interested in careers in tech or cybersecurity to to have a conversation with somebody that is in the industry or has been in a particular cybersecurity discipline that they're interested in learning about. So
Right.
I created that community. I created some training that talks about like how you can, narrow down your search for
Hmm.
your role in cybersecurity because a lot of people like me that when we first started, it was just like, yeah, I want to be in cybersecurity because I want to hack things, right?
Yeah.
And now I say, okay, when you say that you want to be in cybersecurity, that's kind of like saying I want to be a doctor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Then
A
what
doc
kind? And then
a
yeah.
doctor of what, right? And
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, what do you mean by that? And so I have them systematically whittle down the
Mm,
list of jobs. And the way that I explain this to folks is that like you want to go to the rifle range, you want to shoot a gun, right? But when you go to the
yeah.
rifle range, there's 50 targets, right? It's
Yeah.
like you know how to shoot a gun. There's 50 targets. All right. Which targets do you want to shoot at? Are you going to shoot them at all of them, or are you going to shoot at a few of them?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Makes sense.
so yeah, I tell them like we're narrowing down your targets, and then maybe your target is this now, but you can't get there. That's fine. Like you got to take the steps in order to get there, and that's
Right.
what we try to do with the project is be able to say, hey, you have questions along your journey to get to your target. We're here.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I like it. So if somebody is interested in cyber and how do they, I guess, reach out to your company? What's the best way for them to do that?
So you could go to cyberohanaproject.org, check
Hmm.
that out, and send a message. You could also find me on LinkedIn as well,
Oh,
Wilson
okay.
Bautista Jr., and just shoot me a
Yeah, yeah,
message. Connect with me. Tell me that you heard me on blabbing on your podcast. When does this guy shut up?
yeah.
Um,
We need people to blab. It's okay. It's okay.
but yeah, I find people, but we're associated with different organizations like Wounded Warrior Project.
Okay.
We
Yeah, yeah.
we work with them, and one of the things that we're also trying to do locally here in this area is we want to be able to connect with the veteran resources for major organizations that are in the area, so
Mm,
so people know it's like, okay, well, if you are part of the Cyber Ohana project, they know people at, let's say, Raymond James or
oh, yeah.
Abacode or JP Morgan Chase that
Hmm.
can say, okay, you see a job in that organization, all right? Like I will look at your resume and I'll be like, yeah, you're probably not a good fit. This is what you need to do in order to get this job,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Because it's a really big thing when it comes to jobs. Networking is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so just being able to know somebody in the organization that you're interested in is definitely an advantage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and one thing you talked about earlier is the mental aspect, especially, the PTSD, and you talk about now you're transitioning, you're doing all these things. So many veterans, find themselves in that position.
Hmm.
I even found myself in that position, but and it is difficult for whatever reason for veterans to reach out for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what advice do you have for people who may have been in your shoes or anything like that?
I would first say it's number one, it's okay for you to feel the way that you do, right? Because
That's
there's an
good. Yeah.
absolute reason why you do feel the way that you do. Second thing is it doesn't mean that you're weak, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because as Marines, and especially as a Marine officer, it's like you you don't give into that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
the reality is that sometimes you need a crutch. Sometimes you need somebody,
Yeah.
to help you out. And
Hmm.
the third thing is that there are a lot of resources. I
Hmm.
mean, between like Wounded Warrior Project, the VA, there's lots of different programs. I would say like don't feel ashamed to reach out, right?
Yeah.
Um, when I when my wife told me, she's like, "Where are you?" That was
Hmm.
like the clue, like something in me woke up. It's like, you need help.
Yeah.
You need help. Like you need to work through this. Something is wrong, right?
Hmm.
When you feel the way that you do, it was like I was saying, it's like I was in a glass ball, and my kids
Yeah.
were growing up around me, and I was just like this thing that would just exist. I was like an ornament. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
But as you heal, right, and as you learn how to cope, you start bringing back some of these things in your life that you may have felt that you've lost, but have always been there. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask for help, and then continue to talk to people and continue to tell your story about how you've improved and some of your challenges, because
Hmm.
everybody, I don't care who you are, people are always struggling with something, right?
Very true. Yeah.
And I mean, like if your story has merit and you truly want to help people, then tell your story,
Hmm.
right? Tell your story, and it'll hopefully this will impact somebody to be like, yeah, I need to go
Yeah.
check out the VA. I've always been needing to do that. Like I need to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, go F and do it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't feel bad if you have to take medicine. Don't feel
Yeah.
bad if you have to talk to somebody about your feelings. It's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay,
Yeah.
right? But it's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's
Agreed.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, the last thing that I'll say, and just kind of like ties back into the music thing,
Hmm.
um, like I have a hard time expressing like sadness or or e it's really easy for a guy, right, to say anger. Yeah,
Yeah.
anger's really easy. Um, but like sadness, love, or all these other like emotions, it's very difficult. Especially when
Right.
you've been trained that like those are too soft. But um, what I would say is like you need to find an outlet, right? And
Hmm.
my outlet's always been music, right? I find myself when I play certain pieces on the piano,
Hmm.
uh, like feeling something,
Yeah.
whereas it's like I never had that feeling before. So
Yeah.
I'm still exploring this space a little bit and how it impacts me. But pick up an instrument or draw, do something
Yeah.
creative and channel whatever you're feeling into the thing that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's freaking woodworking. I don't know. But something that allows you to get that energy off of you is going to be beneficial to you at the very end.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man, that was good. That's good. Man, well, hey, thanks for coming on and doing this, man. Is there anything you want to leave everybody with before we kind of close this out? Maybe some words of wisdom, although you've given us quite a bit of wisdom here already. But anything else that you want to talk about?
Um, I'd say that like we have a finite time frame that we stay on this earth. So we could either choose to be miserable or we could choose to be happy, right? And even if you choose to be happy, it's like try. Why don't you try to make an impact and make the biggest impact that you can on the people around you? So
Yeah.
live each day to make a positive impact to the ones that you love and the ones that you don't know that you love yet. And you may find a lot of meaning and fulfillment in your life.
Yeah. Man, that was good. Look at you, man. You got all kinds of good stuff. I don't know where all this is coming from, man.
I don't even know where that came from either. Don't let my wife listen to this. She'll be like, "Oh, you're full of crap."
Hey, it sounded good to me, man.
No, but seriously, it's like you practice when you start realizing like how blessed you are.
Mhm.
Like, and this is not like coming from like a God thing or like a religious thing. It's just like, dude, like every day, like I wake up and I see my daughter growing up. I see my kids
Yeah.
growing up, right? And you see all of these wonderful things that are going on. It's just like, yes, this is all right, right?
Mhm.
It's about the mindset, and then for me also, it's like it's the impact. Like,
Yeah.
how can I make it impactful for the next person, and how can I lead by example so that the next person is inspired to lead by example?
Right.
If we do that, and if we do that in a positive way, in a productive way, I think that would make a lot of people more happy, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just the way I think about it.
Man, that's a good way to think about it, man. I like it. I like what you're putting down. It's good. Well, one last time, man. Thanks for coming on. It's been awesome catching up and hearing your story. A great story, and I hope to God everybody listens to it because it's a good one, man. So I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, hey, to all the listeners out there, if you are struggling, you do need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on the chat icon. Any of those options are going to put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. I know Wilson cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, go ahead and reach out to the buddies that you serve with. Ask them how they're doing. And if they need a helping hand, please give it to them. All right, man. One last time, thank you. I appreciate you. To all the listeners, stay motivated. Change your socks.